Archbishop Gilbert Garcera, former bishop of the Diocese of Dayat, from 2007 until 2017. During his term, Archbishop Gilbert, or Archb, as fondly called by all in the Archdiocese, was chosen by Pope Francis to be part of the 16th Ordinary Assembly of the Synod of Bishops on the Family. With Pope Francis, the Cardinal and selected bishops gathered in Rome from October 4 to 25, 2015, reflecting on the theme, Vocation and Mission of the Family in the Church and in the Contemporary World. In 2012, Archb was invited to be one of the speakers during the 7th World Meeting of Families in Milan. It was there that Archb met Mrs. Catherine Wiley, the founder and chairwoman of the International Catholic Grandparents Association. On July 2013, Archb organized the Catholic Grandparents in the Philippines and in Asia. His passion for family and life continues as he is at present preoccupied with the implementation of the new directives of the Dicastery of Laity, Family, and Life, entitled Catechumenal Pathways for Married Couples, Pastoral Guidelines for Local Churches in the Philippines. At present, Archb is the chairman of the Federation of Asian Bishops' Conferences or FABC Office on Laity and Family, handling 5 sections such as the laity, the family, the youth, the women and the basic ecclesial communities or BEC. He is also tasked by FABC to direct the formation of Asian bishops on synodal leadership. Archbishop Gilbert Garcera is a respected leader in the Catholic Church, known for his dedication to serving his community and his unwavering commitment to the teachings of the Church. His love for family, he worked with people from all walks of life and helping them to grow in their faith and spirituality. With a warm and compassionate spirit, Archbishop Garcera has touched the lives of many, inspiring them to live with greater purpose and meaning. His insights and wisdom are a source of inspiration and guidance for all who seek to deepen their understanding of God, the family and the world around them. Sisters and brothers, please join our hands in welcoming, Your Excellency, the Archbishop of Lipa, Gilbert Garcera.
Good evening. This is the Archbishop of Lipa. Actually, I'm the one in charge of grandparents and elderly here in the Philippines. The Bishops' Conference, Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines, assigned me to be the bishop in charge of the grandparents and elderly here in the country. And at the same time, I'm the chairman of the commission or the office of Family and Life in Asia, the Federation of Asian Bishops' Conferences. And the topic I'll be discussing with you tonight, which is this video presentation, is enlarging the space of your tent. Stretch your tent curtains wide. Particular in this biblical passage taken from the prophet Isaiah, chapter 54, verse 2, is rethinking Catholic grandparents from the perspective of synodality. So I have 2 parts in my talk tonight. Maybe here in the Philippines is evening, or some other countries it's morning or afternoon. But anyway, you have the content of my talk. So the first is about gratitude to all of you, particularly to my friend Catherine Wiley. You know, we've been a friend of Catherine since the time I was a speaker in Milan, when the Holy Father invited me to be one of the speakers during the World Day of Families. So in Milan. So that was a time when I knew that there is such thing as CGA, Catholic Grandparents. And I introduced this in the Philippines in my former Diocese of Dayat. So thank you very much, Catherine, for initiating this very beautiful spirit of taking care of grandparents. And I'm also happy that we have so many listeners during this Faith Cafe program. And I know that this has been a regular program for us grandparents. Allow me first to greet you Happy Easter. I know that after 1 week of celebrating the Easter octave, we still cherish the gift of the resurrection of Jesus. So allow me to greet you Happy Easter. The first part of my talk is about gratitude, and I'll be using the document of the Holy Father on family, Amoris Laetitia. And the Holy Father said, we must be grateful that most people do value family relationships and that are permanent and marked by mutual respect. And the Holy Father is directing not just to anonymous people, but to all of us. To you who are with us tonight or this morning or this afternoon, the Holy Father is grateful to you for making sure that the values of the family is transmitted to the next generation. And one of the spirituality, very important for us grandparents, is to transmit the faith. And the Holy Father is thanking us. So here are the beautiful pictures of the joy of Easter. I love my grandma and my grandpa. And we also recall the many times of suffering. In the midst of suffering, there is what you call the joy of taking care of the spirit of family and love. Again, the Holy Father said, when he came to the Philippines, the Holy Father addressed this message, thanking again many families. And the Holy Father, I quote, I thank God that many families, which are far from considering themselves perfect, live in love, fulfill their calling, and keep moving forward, even if they fall many times along the way. And you will recall, the Holy Father said, there is no perfect family. There is no perfect husband, nor wife, nor mother-in-law, or maybe perfect grandparents. We are all humans with all our weaknesses. But the Holy Father is saying, thank you very much. And in the midst of difficulties, again, Amoris Laetitia says, we are grateful for witnesses of marriages that have not only proved lasting, but fruitful and loving. And you can recall so many stories, experiences about fidelity, loving in spite of human weaknesses. How about grandparents, old people? Again, the Holy Father said, thank you to couples who have successfully overcome crises and hardships without fleeing from challenges or concealing problems. Again, this is mentioned in Amoris Laetitia. How about grandparents? Grandfather and grandmother? You will recall that during the time when we had our conference on the family, the year 2015, the Holy Father said, I want to greet all grandmothers, grandfathers, to thank them for their special place in families and for their importance to the new generations. So you see the expression of joy, expression of gratitude of the Holy Father, thanking all of us, listeners, those are with us tonight. So these are the activities of grandparents, and you will recall how happy we are being taken care of by nurses, by our families, by our friends, by our relatives. And we also experience how our children, our grandchildren would acknowledge the gift of being an adult, an aged person, a grandfather, or a grandmother. So you see in here, grandparents are kind. Grandparents are good. And we say, the Holy Father say, if we can realize that everything is God's gift, how happy will our hearts be. So although we are already in the 60th year, senior years, if we consider this age of ours as a gift, surely it's a happy moment for us to be an old person, to be a grandparents. always be happy in spite of the age. The Holy Father says, grandparents are a treasure in the family. Please take care of grandparents, love them, and let them talk to your children. I go back in 2015. So this was the picture with the Holy Father. So I attended the Synod on the Family in Rome because I was one of the delegates, you call it Synod Fathers on the Family. So you recognize the familiar face of Cardinal Chito Tagle, the right side of Pope Francis. Then the two other bishops, Bishop from Davao, Bishop Valles, and from Cebu, Archbishop Palma. So we attended the Synod on the Family. And the very important goal or passion of the Holy Father is, with humility and compassion, to reach out to families, to help its family discover the best way to overcome any obstacles it encounters. And I suppose this is the reason why in 2015, there was a thought. By the 2014, 2015, there was two synods, the Extraordinary Synod and the Synod on the Family. And after that, 2016, the Holy Father issued Amoris Laetitia. After that synod of ours, we finished the document, and we have this Relatio Synod. And what was the issue about this? It's about the family, of the grandparents. The role of grandparents in the transmission of the faith and religious practices should not be overlooked. They are witnesses to the connection between generations and the guardian of great tradition of wisdom, prayer, and example. So this was the product of the synod that happened in 2015, the Relatio Finalis during the synod. And I go to the second part. If the first part is about gratitude to all of you who are with us tonight or this afternoon or this morning, the second part is about synod, which if you look at the PowerPoint, the theme during the Continental Synod was about the words of the prophet Isaiah, chapter 54, verse 2, enlarge the space of your tent. In the second part of my reflection, I would like to offer the background of the diaspora of Jerusalem, the destruction of Israel, wherein during destruction, so many foreign invasions that destroyed Israel. And you know what happened? They went to so many parts because of the destruction. And after so many years, there was already restoration of the people of Israel. It is not just historical, but remember when they separated from God, God gave them a reminder that He is their God and they are the people of God. After so many years came what you call restoration or coming back of those in diaspora, those who are separated, those who have gone away from the place of center of Jerusalem. And what was the mind of Jeremiah? In view of the spirit of what the Lord wants us to be back. I will keep my eyes on them for good and will return them to this land. I will build them up and not tear them down. I will plant them and not uproot them. So beautiful, the imagery of God as presented to us by Prophet Jeremiah. The desire of God that we should come, be united. And when you look at Isaiah 54, verse 1, you notice that during the destruction of Jerusalem, destruction of Israel. The imagery is barren, no fruit. So this is the reason why that during the restoration of coming back after so many years of diaspora, of being away from the center of faith, which is Jerusalem, beautiful indeed that Isaiah would mention, sing, be happy, O barren woman, you who never bore a child for many years because you've been fruitless. Burst into song, shout for joy, you who were never in labor, because more are the children of the desolate woman than of her who has a husband, says the Lord. When you look at Isaiah 54, this is a time of rejoicing. So when the Lord welcomes everybody, I think this is the expression. Enlarge the space of your tent so that welcoming others would be a joy to everyone. Stretch your curtain wide because so many people will be returning back to its own land. Do not hold back. Lengthen your cords. Strengthen your stakes. It is a spirit of the second point which I would like us to reflect. Trying to revisit Catholic grandparents from this perspective of enlarging the space of our time. What do we mean by this? When you speak of synodality, it's walking together, not just a separate group, but walking together as a people of God according to Lumen Gentium. It speaks of oneness with Jesus, led by the Spirit. You know, when the Holy Father gave a talk, in 2015, I was in Rome, and I attended this 50th anniversary of the institution of the Synod in Rome. He says, it is precisely this path of synodality which God expects the Church in this third millennium. So when you speak of synodality coming together, what do we mean by enlarging our tent? It has three magic words: communion, participation, and mission. So when you look at synodality, it means communion not just among ourselves, but of so many people. Participation not just between us and among us. And mission is answering what you call Missio Dei, the mission of God, continuing the mission of Christ as a people of God. So I like to interpret this. Enlarge the space of your tent. Enlargement is encouraging each one of us to think big, to dream big, and get a bigger perspective other than just the usual way of thinking. There are so many reflections related to the topic, enlarge the space of your tent. But allow me to define what we by enlargement. Thinking big, dreaming big, getting a bigger perspective. What are the obstacles in trying to enlarge the space of our tent as grandparents? Number one, individualism. Amoris Laetitia, number 33, speaks of extreme individualism. And I quote, extreme individualism deforms family bonds and ends up considering each component of the family as an isolated unit, leading to the idea that the person is formed according to his own desires, which are considered absolute. I don't care about you. My only concern is myself. Remember, if this is an issue, how about family life? How about transmitting the faith? When people are so conscious of this attitude of extreme individualism, greater freedom of expression, a better recognition of rights of women and children that I don't care about as a community. So individualism and living only for oneself is a real danger. And it means a danger to grandparents, to old age. I don't care attitude. You jeopardize the sense of community, the family, as a community, as a domestic church. So in this, from we, to just considering myself, if this freedom lacks noble goals and personal discipline, degenerates inability to give oneself generously. So beware of the number one problem, it's extreme individualism. So in this favors a lifestyle that weakens the development and stability of personal relationship and distorts family bonds. Evangelicaudium. I go to number 2 problem. You know, I've been following up research. By 2023, the number one problem in the whole world is about the influence of AI, artificial intelligence. And you know, we experience this time, young people who can't even relate with others because they're so addicted to the computer, to their cell phone. How about personal relationship? Will there be? No. My only concern is what the internet is telling me. Remember, Pope Francis would say, create the culture of encounter. And you know, here in my province, here in the Philippines, we have so many problems, especially for children and our young people. There is what you call sickness of the mind. They don't even care to relate with other people. So another problem is about, will there be marriages? Amoris Laetitia, if you read all the reasons why there are so many young people, they don't want to get married. If this is the situation of the world today, how about grandparents in the future? So, Amoris Laetitia 39 says, purely emotional and romantic concept of love, not commitment, or the influence of ideological, cultural reason, devaluing marriage and family. You call it throwaway culture, evangelicaudium, or fear of something to be considered too sacred, too important, so let's not enter into married life. Let's just experiment. Or lack of dignified, affordable housing. So let's not enter into married life because, you know, we have to make sure that we have a house. Or a rejection of something conceived as purely institutional or bureaucratic because of the sacrament of matrimony. Or maybe postponing wedding for reasons of money, work, or study. Or what you call the narcissistic culture of the time. Again, going back to individualism. Fear of losing my freedom and my independence. So, in the document chapter 2 of Amoris Laetitia, it speaks of so many reasons why young people do not want to get married and be committed forever. This is a problem. You know, when the Holy Father came to the Philippines, when we had a meeting with the Holy Father, the bishops, those facilitators of family and life, he said, the family is also threatened by growing efforts on the part of some to redefine the very institution of marriage by relativism, by the culture of ephemeral, meaning to say outside without any commitment, or lack of openness to life. You can interpret this in so many ways because this was the reaction of the Holy Father, threatened by redefining marriage, and family. Other than this, the decreasing number of children. So if we have grandparents, will there be grandchildren? If there is a decreasing number? Amoris Laetitia again speaks of this. Difficulty in raising children, hesitancy to welcome new life, the unwillingness to accept responsibility, and to the idea that children might interfere my personal freedom. Beware of this, because this is a situation of the world today. They don't want to have children. They just want to be free. How about the LGBT? So active in so many countries, wherein men and men, woman and woman, there is no longer relation between man and woman. Amoris Laetitia again speaks of this in paragraph 53. Personal identity and emotional intimacy ought to be radically detached from biological difference between male and female. So when you consider all this, we try to think of grandparents in the future. Widen your understanding considering what Amoris Laetitia is telling us. How about the increasing number of divorce? In the Philippines, from 2001 to 2014, without explaining, you see, from the office of the Solicitor General, there had been an increasing number of many divorces or many annulment. We have no divorce in the Philippines, but annulment. Any other problem? Yes. Because when you consider in Amoris Laetitia, what the elderly can provide as a resource is not always adequately appreciated. The elderly deserve genuine recognition, appreciation, and a cordial reception by young people, families, and society. And I'm very thankful to Catherine for promoting the importance of grandparents, that they should be loved, appreciated. You know, here in the Philippines, we take care of grandparents at home. We don't send them to homes for the aged, but we take care of them. And it's so nice that we have in the Philippines grandparents staying at home. Amoris Laetitia says again, the church feels the need to assist families who take care of the elderly and the infirm members. That includes already grandparents. I would like to analyze Amoris Laetitia and Familiares Consortio, because I've been reflecting on this as to enlarge our way of understanding. In Amoris Laetitia, if you locate grandparents, there are only 3 paragraphs mentioning grandparents. In Amoris Laetitia, elderly has been mentioned 26 times. Try to reflect on this. Yes, I appreciate the work of grandparents, but when you consider the documents of the church, truly we appreciate the work of grandparents, but how about the elderly? When you go to Familiares Consortio, elderly has been mentioned 9 times. How about grandparents? 0. And it's the reason why the Holy Father in 2021 issued the celebration of World Day for Grandparents and Elderly. I remember Cardinal Farrell saying, the establishment of the Day of Grandparents and Elderly is the first fruits of Amoris Laetitia Family Year, a gift to the whole church that is destined to continue into the future. So when we consider grandparents, I appreciate what we are doing, but I think we have to enlarge the space of understanding, not just exclusively for grandparents. Truly, we take care of grandparents. But there are so many elderly who are really witnesses. Here in the Philippines, we have so many elderly who are not grandparents because they are married to their work as catechists, church workers, and so many others working for the church. They have no children, they have no grandparents, but they're very active, old as 90 years old, still working in the church as an elderly single person. In the Philippines, I consider this as statistics because the Philippine Statistics Authority showed that there are 12 million Filipinos at age 60 years old and above a senior citizen by May 2020. Total number of senior citizens representing 60 years old is 11.31%. 109 million of them. So when you enlarge the space of your understanding of assisting not just our grandparents but the elderly, we have to think of how we can maximize our effort of transmitting the faith. So these are the grandparents, the elderly. In the Philippines, I would like to share with you how we have enlarged our way of engaging with grandparents and elderly. One, we have 87 dioceses in the Philippines. As of now, we have 42 dioceses that are so active in Catholic grandparenting. Number two, I met the commissioner on senior citizen. And it's so nice to relate with them because when you just go to the office of the mayor and ask the list, oh, there are so many of them. And maybe Easter time or Christmas time or maybe Advent or Lenten season, we could just coordinate with the office, the National Office of Senior Citizen, ask them to organize. We give the spiritual talk. So remember, they are the ones organizing all the senior citizen. For the material goods, wherein they can offer anything, medical assistance, let it be for the government. But for the church, spiritual assistance. And you know, in Evangelii Gaudium, the Holy Father said, there is a need for us church to make sure that spiritual assistance be given to old people. Number three, I'm happy because we coordinate with an International Council of the Couples for Christ. And just recently, I think I had a meeting with them, with the International Council. And we are propagating CGA, Grandparents Senior Program, not just here in the Philippines, but in the whole of Asia. Hopefully by July, there will be a 2-day conference on Catholic grandparenting. And we have identified already Home for the Aged. We have identified coordinators, both national and diocesan. You know, the number 5 is so interesting because for us, elderly grandparenting does not end only after death. Even after death, there is the one responsible of taking care of praying for them. This is what you call the group of prayer warriors of the Holy Soul. So we take care of our elderly and grandparents even after death, and the family would gather, and these people in charge of praying for the souls, they are the one responsible. So it's not just a so myopic way of trying to serve our grandparents and elderly as they are active, even though they are sick. So we have also the apostolate of the elderly and grandparents in prison. You know, last Holy Thursday, I celebrated Mass in our provincial prison cell. So nice to be with them. But our in charge for the elderly took care of grandparents who are in prison. And number 7, I am happy because our coordinator, Lolo Roy and Lola Mali, usually conduct the national conference on monthly formation of grandparents. And some of our dioceses in the Philippines would initiate pilgrimages, marches of saints, especially during October and November, and radio program for grandparents. So these are ways wherein our grandparents here in the Philippines are very active. We have so many other programs, but minor programs. These are the major programs wherein we would like to share with you. Enlarge the space of your tent. Enlarge the space of understanding of how we can serve grandparents and elderly. Pope Francis would say, grandparents are living memories of the past. So also the elderly. Not just an ordinary elderly, but Catholic elderly. So these are beautiful memories, pictures, albums of experiences and memories. A quote from the Holy Father. A population that does not care of the elderly and of children, and the young has no future because it abuses both its memory and its promise. I hope that with this short reflection, enlarging the space of your tent, we could think more of how we can serve the Church through grandparenting. And I would like to thank our national coordinator, Lolo Roy and Lola Mali Sambuenaventura, also our spiritual director, who is a grandparent. Maybe he's attending this time. Father Lambert Ramos from the Diocese of Antipolo. So thank you very much for listening and accompanying me in this reflection as we reflect on rethinking Catholic Grandparents Association from the perspective of synodality. Good night, morning, good afternoon. This is the Archbishop of Lipa, the Bishop in charge of grandparents and elderly in the Philippines.